What's up, guys, and welcome back to the formerly unnamed podcast with myself, Cameron Bash, and my co-host here.
Hey guys. Well, let's just say you guys picked a really good name. And it's a doozy one. And you know what? We should have seen this coming, Cam. I mean, should we announce the official name?
I think we should. We should go ahead and announce the official name of our podcast, the Bust and Bash podcast.
You guys are naughty, and I love it. This is amazing. It's perfect, though. I mean, we both start with the B's and, 4-letter words. And you know what? Considering that, I think this was destined to happen. So let's go with that. You guys are great.
Yeah, I think if we ever became a tag team in CAW, this is probably what the name would have had to have been, right?
Without a doubt. As a matter of fact, didn't we, I think we actually joked about this years ago. And this name might have actually been brought up.
It might have been. It might have already, because we definitely, there was ideas discussed about me and you being in some sort of formation at one point.
Yeah.
So it's definitely possible that this has been on a drawing board somewhere at some point.
Yeah, you see, it all comes full circle. Now it comes to a podcast. Yeah.
There we go. And speaking of CAW, that's kind of what we're going to be talking about here today on this episode of of the podcast. We're going to be giving some tips, if you will. We've each gone ahead and arranged some of our own tips for being in the CAW community, if it will. So I've arranged 5 tips. Rom's arranged 5 tips, and this is going to be each of our top 5 tips for being in the CAW community. All right. So, but before we get into that, I just wanted to give a big thank you to everybody for your feedback and general support on the pilot episode of our podcast. What was that one called? We just went with the Rom and Bash pilot podcast. That's it.
Yeah.
Catchy name. Yeah, thank you very much for tuning in for that, giving us your feedback, let us know what you thought. It was great feedback, and just hearing what you guys had to say in the comment section as well has really sort of influenced the direction of this podcast and what we're going to be doing with it and what we're going to be talking about. Such as today, a lot of you guys wanted to see us talk about CAW stuff, talk about old stories, whether it be with FAM or other projects that we've worked on, and just a lot of that stuff really is what you guys wanted to see. So we're more than happy to come here today and deliver.
Yeah, and also we get to expose our massive egos. So let's get to it.
Exactly. We're here. We have the tips that you need to survive in the first years of the CAW community. It's like a high school survival guide type thing.
Yeah, but it works, just like how, Todd from Bethesda says, it just works. So listen to us, all right? Believe us.
Yeah, we got some good tips. And just real quick, as some of you probably noticed, I have got the camera going tonight. That also means that we have the internet helping us tonight as well with some visual aids. So we got our channels here, our Twitter accounts. Make sure to follow us over on all of these. We'll pimp them a bit more towards the end of the show. But yeah, just a little bit better of a visual aid if we need to pull up anything to talk about anything in particular, just to give a nice sort of visual aid, like I said, then we can go ahead and do that with our tips here today. So, without further ado, Rom, we get into some of these tips.
Oh, you know what? I think we should definitely do that, but also we should start from the basic foundation of CAW, and that is creating the CAW itself. The character. Because before you can even have the show, you need to have the character, the one that's going to be on the ring, in the stage, cutting the promo, whatever he or she may be doing. But, it needs to be visually presented. So, do you want to start or should I start? Because mine is, when it comes to, this CAW, I made a few videos about how to make a good CAW, and, I might take a long turn here. So if you want to take the shortcut and you start first, go ahead, man.
Oh, you sound passionate. You sound like you're ready to go. Hit us with your tip, Rom.
All right. So, back in Unite, I used to tell these guys every single time they asked me the basics of their character. And I know this may be a little bit stingy for some promoters out there, even in real life, but when I tell them the basics of the character and their inspiration, I tell them do not ever get inspired from another wrestler in promotion, especially today. And I'll tell you why. It's because they were inspired by somebody else. So if you're going to be inspired, you're going to be a bootleg of a bootleg of a bootleg of a character that originally was inspired by essentially either a TV or a video game character. So why don't you go with that? So just get inspired by something outside of wrestling. Get inspired by a character from a TV show. Again, a video game character or movies, anime, whatever. That should be the fundamental basics of the character. Whoever you like. Now, with that, I'm not going to tell you to go and, pick a badass character. Because if everybody's going to be a badass character, then nobody's going to be badass. We can't have, 25 Jackie Chans and 30 Dwayne The Rock Johnsons in the same roster. Because it just won't fit. So, to my point back, you got to have a character that's fundamentally either very enjoyable to watch, or if he's a badass, at least make him very distinguishable. And speaking of funny characters, we need to bring back some funny characters. I know when you want to be a professional wrestler, especially in CAW, whatever, because it's a video game, you want to look formidable. I get it. It's the fantasy, it's the male friggin' testosterone stuff. But at the end of the day, professional wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it, is all about making people smile. And I see a huge lack of characters whose fundamentals lack people becoming, happy or smiling. So that's why I love my favorite characters will always be, in FAM, will always be people like the Mafia, the Chef, the Don. As a matter of fact, my most favorite match of all time, we did in FAM, and this may come as a shock, but in FAM, people know this for the truth. My favorite match ever in FAM was the Resurgence versus the Mafia back at the Anniversary 3. Simply because of the way, even though the match was a cluster, and I admit it was a cluster, but the dialogue between Big Tony and Tiny was amazing. It made people smile. So that, to me, that will always be my favorite. So whenever you make a character who, when you look at him, you're going to have a good time. You're going to smile. That's already a step in the right direction. Not saying that you can't look badass and like a phenom or whatever, but maybe you should not go in the route of a badass all the time, is what I'm trying to say. So that's essentially the basic portion. Now, I've already gotten too far ahead, so I'll let Cam continue that part.
That was that first tip was like a loaded baked potato.
Yeah, I told you, man, I'm passionate. I still got a few more, but I know when to cut it.
Tips on top of tips on top of tips. But yeah, no, you make some really good points there. I especially like the part where you said about sort of the core of what your tip there is. Get inspired by things that are not necessarily wrestling related, because yeah, like you said, everybody's you hear a lot of wrestlers saying, I don't want to be the next that guy, I'm going to be the first this guy. But then you look at their inspirations and it's the same old stuff, it's the Shawn Michaels, it's the sort of Razor Ramones, the Bret Harts, just the big players from back in the day, and they're feeding all of these elements from those people who did it very well back then into themselves, but a lot of the time that doesn't translate then into a new, fresh, unique character. It's just the next that person, insert that person's name here. So yeah, you got to do something to separate yourselves. You got to do something to make yourself stand out from the crowd. This actually goes really well into what my first tip is, so I might as well riddle that one off for you guys. And that is, look at what other people are doing and try not to do that. And I think that plays perfectly with what you're saying. Don't look at what other wrestlers are doing for your inspiration. Look elsewhere for your inspiration, whether it be, like you said, TV shows, video games, anime, comic books, real life situations and dramas. There's no shortage of interesting people in the world. So if you can get inspired by a certain person, you want to feed some of their personality into your character, it's a great thing to do as well. Just anything that you can sort of do to separate yourself from the pack, make yourself stand out from what everybody else is doing. That's the best thing to do at the end of the day. Just continuing on that first tip, some of the sort of things I was more specifically thinking about myself was When it comes to just pretty much anything, whether it be the attire that you make, the moves that you use, the entrant animations that you use stuff that other people aren't using. The amount of times that people's car are some black and red tights with like a black and red hoodie, and they use the GTS as their finisher, and they use the super kick as the signature, and they walk into the ring like Randy Orton. I thought we got over this in 2011, guys. Why are so many people still doing this?
Well, I mean, freaking, that's exactly why Rennick sucks so much. I keep on telling him, this guy, you're a generic idiot, but, he still does this stuff. But Rennick is a whole different sack of potatoes, like you mentioned. But essentially, you're right, Cam. The difference is with Rennick, if you're going to go all out with doing all that stuff, at least you got to be committed to doing it to one character on the show. Not everyone, because, if we had like 20 of the same Randy Orton / CM Punks. By the way, I'm guilty of ripping off CM Punk. Yeah, I literally just did that. But at the same time, I was 14, 15. Cut me some slack, yo. And I was the best CM Punk. I was ripping off CM Punk before it was cool. Okay? So I got
ripping off CM Punk better than anyone.
Absolutely. Except, actually, you know what? At the Rumble, I still won't forget. I'm from Malta, but Merck / Lewis announced me from Chicago, Illinois. Like, what? No! No, but you know what? It's fine. It's one of those memories I just laugh at. I'm not going to cringe over it. But yeah, what Cam was saying is absolutely perfect. You cannot just go ahead and get the most popular moves, the RKOs, the GTS, simply because a wrestler popular at this era is using them, because everybody's going to use them. It's the same, like, oh, he's the best. I got to look like the best. Don't do that. Do something else. Get a move that nobody uses. Even if it doesn't look the most deadliest, use it, because it's going to be your own, Whenever people are going to see that move, they're going to say, oh, they're going to link it to you. They're going to link it to like 25 other people who are going to use it, especially on the same show, if that's going to be the case. But, make it your own.
It's difficult, I think, for some people to look at something like FAM and be like, oh, well, he's using black and red on Rannick, and he's got the slow walk to the ring. But like you mentioned, it is within the confines of a show. The people making the show are often taking into account the various different characters on the show. So why a lot of what I just referenced was described Rannick very well. Rannick's the only person within the FAM universe who fits that mold, so it separates him. And a lot of that stuff also just there's storyline to it. There's things that have happened that make the GTS make sense as a move. It makes the black and red make sense. It makes the slow maniacal walk to the ring make sense. There's all things that have happened to this character that make those things make sense and allow you to sort of maybe do things you normally wouldn't be able to do. But because you have that sort of epic backstory there to be able to make those things happen.
Right. Which actually comes... You know what? I'll put a pin on there, when you talk about making that happen when it comes to the confines of the story behind the character. I'll put a pin on that, because after making the character and after making the roster, you got to talk about how you're going to get the matches and the segments to actually work. And that's, I think... where the meat of the whole shows are, which is editing. Maybe we should cross to that topic now.
Okay, you got some tips on editing?
Yeah, listen, how am I going to explain this? If you're a novice, obviously you're not going to go ahead and make the most detailed show ever. But the most important thing I would tell you is beforehand, you need to be ready to sort of commit to this. What I mean by that is you have to buy... Well, not buy. You can get Sony Vegas wherever you want, but you need to buy at least a microphone which has decent quality, like a Blue Snowball or whatever, for not just your character, but even for commentary. So that's the basics of the basics. But the most important thing, because I can give you tips about how to do sound effects, I can give you tips about how to do fade-ins and fade-outs, all you want, and that's fine. I can do that in the later show. But the mindset is where the key is. You need to go into this knowing that every single little detail is going to help you in the long run. It's the same thing as when you look at a Marvel show, a Marvel movie / franchise. The cream of the crop. You know why? Because every single detail of every single frame is dedicated with such beauty, such passion, that you're gonna take it for granted. But it's expected, and that's the main thing here. You are going to go into a show knowing it's going to be so detailed and crafted so well that every single second is going to be beautiful, but you're not going to have enough time or enough, I guess, of a mindset to appreciate all of it. That's for the viewers to experience, but for you, you have to create that. So take every single step. If you're going to create something, make sure that every single second is something that the viewers are going to enjoy. That's the mindset, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree with that. You want to be creating something that just has every piece of it paid to in just pay great attention to every single piece that's going on. One of the things that I've got up on the screen right now for the viewers to take a look at is the end of FAM Pandora. I think this is a good example of what you were talking about, where just so many parts link together in the final moments of this show. You have sort of a bow getting tied around and some stuff that happened between Andy Badwell and 2TM. You've got Rannick and Andy Badwell getting some beef out the way. You got Rannick and BH starting a feud. You got Camera Bash and 2TM starting a feud. You got some AWOL stuff going on in the background there that you find out about a little bit later on. It's just, when you pay attention to all of the things that you have at your disposal and you give them the proper care and attention that they deserve, you're going to get wonders back from all that.
Oh, yeah, people are going to appreciate it. One thing I will say, just to be more specific, please focus a lot on audio. I know people find it very annoying, and believe me, it is, but audio just enhances the realism of it all. You feel like you're part of the world. You feel like you're watching an actual show. You're not watching a video game show. You're watching a show. It's an experience. It's not it's an immersion. With audio, you make the immersion 100% believable. If you're just going to use the in-game sound effects, and like I said, you can do that, but I don't think Highlight Reel even allows you to do that, because you're just going to be blank. Just practice with that. Believe me, you'll get the most virtually immersion, or how do you say it, the most immersion visible show you can actually get by just doing perfectly synced audio, at least to your level. So try that first, and then you'll get the results. People will appreciate that.
Yeah, good amount of sort of immersion. Guess that rolls into my second tip. My second tip is, if you're looking to make a name for yourself, if you're looking to sort of get yourself out there, on top of, like Rom said, investing in stuff, invest in a capture card.
Yep.
Please. A capture card, I think, is maybe more essential for most people than a microphone is. A lot of people have managed to get through the CAW community and make pretty good names for themselves without having a mic or without having good quality audio. I think that's one of the things that just goes for most of us. My video quality was a lot better before my audio quality got better. Yours certainly was. You remember your mic quality back in the day?
Oh my God, that's still my best era. What are you talking about? Hey, the deep voice, the broken mic, I get it. It was enjoyable, but now it's not the same era, unfortunately. It's not the same era of the mixes with the gangsta music or the copyright music that gets you blocked worldwide. We can't do that anymore, man. It's you gotta be HD, you gotta be 1080p, or I don't know, like whatever the standard is. And now, a capture card would definitely help, because
capture card all the way. Like, there's so many people who are just using, whether it be SharePlay or whatever the version of it on Xboxes to record their stuff. And man, I just want to facepalm, because I don't think what a lot of people realize is, so when you record with that in-game recorder, it's at a lower quality anyway. I think it caps like 720p or something. Then when you download that footage onto your computer, I'm not sure if there's a compression process that it goes through at that point, but it's potential that it happens. So you're potentially already losing a little bit of quality before it reaches your computer. Then when you render that match out and upload it to YouTube and send it to somebody else to do commentary or to do whatever, or to add it as part of a bigger show, when that person downloads it and adds their part to it, the quality goes down even more. So even though you think you're recording in 720p and that at sort of the base of it is good quality, if you go back and watch FAM between the years of 2015 up to 2018, it's all in that 720p quality. But your guys' 720p quality is not true 720p quality because of the amount of times that it's been downloaded and re-put into Vegas and just being compressed through all that re-uploading and downloading. So it just looks like it was recorded with a potato at the end of it.
Yeah, and rendered by a toaster. That's the problem. You gotta understand that if you render it 100 times over and over again, you're not gonna get the same recompression. You're not. It's just the way it is. Especially if you upload it to YouTube. But at least what you can do is don't upload it to YouTube because when you download it, like Cam said, people don't realize this because they may not have the experienced eyes like we do after all these years. But yes, when you download a video from YouTube, it's not going to look the same. It's not. You're going to lose a little bit of quality. And plus that, if you render it, you're going to lose more. So combine all those little tiny pixels going down, down, down. Eventually, you're not going to get 720p. Heck, you're not even going to get 480p. You're going to make it look like it's been through the mud. All right. So if you're going to record 720p, the least you can do to avoid all of this is upload it to Google Drive or Mediafire. Don't put it up to YouTube. You know, because it will help. It will help, but for the love of God, even if you do put it up on Google Drive, whatever, do not render it 25 times. Do not send it to this guy for commentary to render it again, because it's not. It's going to reduce the quality. So please, listen to, Cam brought it up. So listen to him when he says, if you're going to invest in a capture card. And even so, if you do invest in a capture card and upload it to YouTube, you're going to get the same shtick. So, you got to invest in the capture card.
The capture card is good because a lot of them record in 1080p. So when you upload it to YouTube, even if somebody has to download it, even though that's not the ideal process you want to be going through, I just know it's easier for a lot of people to do it that way because of the upload times for some of these file sharing websites, especially the free ones. So I understand why you guys are doing it, but like the quality the consoles are recording says it's 720p. I don't believe it's true 720p. When you go through all the compression, that gets even lower. At least if you're doing some of those compression steps, such as uploading it and then re-downloading it from YouTube with a 1080p file, it's gonna look a lot better than if it was with straight off the console. And I got a little picture on the screen now. It just sort of gives you a good visual idea of what happens through the compression process. It's not exact. This is not exactly what happens, but over time, it does lose quality. It goes from this beautiful crisp image on the right here. As it goes down through a couple of uploads and downloads, it starts to lose quality until you are left with just a big pixely mesh a lot of the time. So invest in that capture card. And, like Rom said, upload your stuff to a file sharing website and download it off of that instead of YouTube.
Yeah, and we realized all of this years after we were even doing these mistakes. So, learn from ours.
Oh, yeah, we've all been... These are just mistakes that we've made that we're passing on to you guys. It's not like we came in like, oh, yes, we know exactly how to run core shows, and it's perfect formula.
Oh, no, we still don't know everything, but I think we can safely say...
I'm learning new stuff all the time.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think we can safely say we failed so many times that I think we're going to pass on these learning tips to these people so that they can avoid it. So hopefully, in a couple of years, when I'm probably 6 feet under or whatever, at least there'll be shows out there that, I have 1080p or even, but who knows by that time, maybe even 4K, but it has to be true. It has to be at least, with the new consoles coming out really soon, I think we might be able to do that eventually. Maybe without even the capture cards. Who knows with what the PS5 or Xbox Series can actually do. But regardless, even if they do that, try not to put them up on YouTube. That's the basic gist.
Yeah. Get your capture card, folks.
Yeah, that's the basic lesson of this. Get the capture card and a good mic, please, a good mic.
So I'll go with my next tip since you've been leading us here as of late. So if you're looking to make a name for yourself, what I suggest you do, what my tip to you is, you're a lot better off making something that is on the shorter side of things, but is a more quality product than you are making something that's 30 to 45 minutes long for the first time and not as good. When you focus on a good sort of whatever it may be, if you're making a match promo, it might be 2 to 3 minutes long. If you're making a nice short sprint match, it might be anywhere from like 7 to 10 minutes long. But if you focus on making something of quality in a shorter amount of time, that's what's going to make people go, I want to see more of that. I want to see more of what this person can do. I want to see what this person can do over 20 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever the case may be. You don't get to that point if you're just going to go balls to the walls, jump straight in deep, jump in the deep end, and just say, right, I'm going to make the most epic 30-minute WrestleMania classic match that anybody has ever seen. I'm going to do a 30-minute Iron Man match because these aren't very popular and this is what people want to see. No, you need to come back down to earth. You need to do something of a little bit more, I don't know, just substance, I guess, just something that's just gonna catch people's attention a little bit better, and just start small. Just start small. Don't aim too high from the get-go, because you don't need to, and odds are, if you send someone like myself or someone like Rom or any other YouTuber for that matter, if you send them a 40-minute video and say, hey, can you check this out, I'm a lot more likely to check out the video that's 2 minutes long than the video that's 40 minutes long.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, that's 100% true. And also, what Cam said, this is what even real-life promoters do with their new wrestlers. They give them a minute or two for the first impression kind of promo to see what they're good at, and, they'll give them the shot. You have to open their eyes before you open their interest, So, go with that. Make the first impression. Make it a short and sweet one, so that, they'll, it's a good appetizer. That's what they do in real life, too, like I said, in wrestling. So, go with that. Give us, show us what you can do.
I think it's the same just across all industries ever. Everywhere you go, everything that you ever get into, from school to the real world and work, just whatever it may be, everywhere always starts you off small. They're always like, okay, here's a small task. Show us what you can do with that, and then we'll go from there. And if you're looking to make a name for yourself, if that's sort of your prime goal, there are people who are here just for fun. There are people who just want to watch content, hang out, make cool stuff. It's whatever, there are people who do that. But there are people who are here because they want to make something of this. They want to be popular. They want to have people watching their content. They want to make content for lots of people to see. And that's a great goal to have. But if that's your goal, I suggest you start small.
Yeah, essentially, you remind me as well. That's how I started. I used to just do like a 5-minute videos, mixes, and people used to enjoy it until, we drafted to FAM. So people already knew who I was. At least, I'm not trying to be, say, I did it the right way. But no, it's just a small example to where, you can have your own fan base by just having just small bits and bits of few minutes here and there of content dedicated by you. So, yeah, start with that. You don't have to make a freaking 20-hour pay-per-view or a 50-minute Iron Man match, especially if the characters are not known by the viewer beforehand. So, you're already falling apart to begin with. So start off small, but good, short and sweet.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think, just sort of tied in with that as well, I wish we would see more people going out of their way to do stuff on their own, rather than relying on shows as their platform to do stuff. These shows didn't just sort of grow out the ground one day and everybody started flocking to them. They essentially started by what I said. People who had small ideas, they got those small ideas out there, people flocked to it, people liked it, and then they created shows around that. That's what you guys gotta do. You can't just be depending on FAM or JM or ROX or whoever it may be out there to bring you on board, to give you an opportunity. Make the opportunity yourself. Make your own videos. You've all got access to your own YouTube channel, your own Twitter account, your own Facebook account, whatever it is you want to use to get this content out there. You got the access to it, so get out there and do it.
Yeah, and you don't even have to have a show to make a show, if you know what I mean. You can make mixes, you can make anything, anything, think outside the box, just something that people will like to see. It doesn't have to be a typical show. It doesn't have to be a typical showcase. It can be anything. Heck, I think, I used to break the limit a bit. I was the most non-PC guy ever, possibly, because I used to parody freaking when the noob mixes. I used to have freaking Hitler as a commentator, for Christ's sake. And then 2 years later, I was having, I was parodying 2K. 2K will freaking sponsor us, mind you, and follow us on Twitter. And a few years ago, I was parodying them with 2K15. So, just have fun at the end of the day. Because if you're going to make people smile, that's the original point. If you're going to make yourself smile, then you're going to make people smile. You just have fun, It doesn't have to be all serious all the time. It doesn't have to be 100%, a match has to be a serious match. Just try something, man. That's all.
Yeah. All right, so I got another tip. This one is extremely specific, but it's such a big bugbear of mine, and it's such a simple thing that I don't understand why more people aren't doing it, and it needs to happen. So I'm going to say it here where we got this platform. Here's my tip. If you're repurposing footage from shows into promotional videos, whether that be an intro for the show, whether that be a match promo, whether that just be a sort of hype package promo, whatever it is, if you're repurposing footage from the show into these types of videos, please, for the love of God, just crop it a little bit and cut out those corner watermarks.
Yes. Oh, no.
The hashtags in the corner, FAM uses them, JM uses them. You say hashtag, the name of the show, or hashtag Jam Universe, whatever the case may be. There's often one in the other corner. Then I know when I was doing FAM, at one point we had 3 going on. We had the corner hashtag, we had like a spinning globe in the other corner, and then like a smaller FAM one down here. It's a lot of watermarks, but you gotta cut those out because the video packages just look so unprofessional if those are left in. It's just immediately, if I watch a video package or a promo and I see that going on, it's just, man, do you know how easy that was to fix? It's literally one click in Sony Vegas. You then drag a box smaller so you don't see those watermarks in your video anymore. And hey presto, you're done. You got rid of those watermarks.
And after you do that, please disable resample while you're at it. Because I've seen people who do get the recompressed files, but then they don't do it, and all of a sudden, not only do you still have the watermarks, but the watermarks suddenly have after images as well. Like, yeah. you gotta, it's small things, man. Like we mentioned before, it's small things that can help, help the immersion of the show. Make it seem like, oh, they're not just copying or dragging old clips here and there. Just for the sake of repurposing footage and for the sake of having a more clear. Now, yes, the downside to it is that if you zoom in or crop out, you're going to lose a little bit of quality, because it is what it is. We're going to zoom in. But, if you want to go and do something to where, you want to present that, it's a new show altogether and not something that you copied, just do it. It's a worthy sacrifice, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, and a lot of the times when it comes to the match promos and stuff, it's an expected. Like, people understand that the quality of the footage is usually going to be less, just because it is looking back on stuff, and there's usually lots of effects added on the top anyway, whether it be blurs or making it black and white or making it color or lens flares or whatever the case may be. So if the footage is a little bit less quality because of that zooming in to get rid of the watermarks, it's definitely one of those things that's preferred rather than seeing that hashtag watermark or that spinning globe watermark in the corner. And then just within that, then I would also suggest if you're doing a show, work out what I'm saying about the watermarks a little bit more tactically, if you will. You don't need to have 3. I think where we dropped down and didn't use 3 anymore is learning from that mistake. Right now, I use 1. Well, I tell a lie. I use 2. But the way that I do it is you have the main hashtag in the corner. That's there for the entire show. And then for certain scenes in 2K19, they have the little thing that pops in the corner that says press options for something to happen. Whenever that appears, I have another JM logo that covers that, but I just fade that watermark in and out. when you put a match together, a full highlight reel match, that doesn't have any of that corner stuff. Once you've zoomed in and you've cropped out all the stuff that highlight reel comes with, there's nothing left on the screen. So you don't have to cover anything. So my suggestion is just don't put anything there. The watermarks have always been used as something, I think, in our community so that we can cover stuff in the game so that it looks a little bit more professional. But in doing so, I think people have gotten into the habits, well, if that's going to be there for that minute of the show because it needs to cover this thing, then it's got to be there for the entire thing. I disagree. If you watch WWE, if you watch any programming for that matter, any sports programming, their watermarks in the logo are constantly coming on and off the screen, constantly rotating to different things, whether it be a new hashtag or a new little logo, flashing on and off, like I said, just... It's happening, and I think people should be doing more of that in CAW.
And small details, Cam, that add up to a whole new professional level when you come to presenting the video or show, whatever. And yeah, people need to do it. Like we said, we used to do this, way back in the day as well. We used to leave it as it is. But like we mentioned earlier, learn to better yourself. Learn to improve, even if it's annoying. I know it's annoying. Like, why is it worded? Yes, it is worded at the end. Trust me. It's small details that people will distinguish you between you and other shows or other people. Do it. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, 100%. And yeah, like Rom said, it is a small detail, but it is one of those things that I can easily just go on a 5-minute rant about because it's probably something that not a lot of people are even thinking about. They're just like, oh yeah, I'll throw this on there. That's my show's logo, and that's the hashtag that we're using, so I'll throw that there too. And maybe I'll just throw something down here because that's going to cover something to do with a nameplate or whatever. But if you just take a moment to think about it tactically, think about what you're then going to repurpose this footage into in the future, whether it's going to be a match promo and stuff. Do you really want to have all that stuff on the screen? Is that really going to look nice then when it comes to doing your big epic pay-per-view match promo? Probably not. So yeah, a small detail, but one that I am very passionate about, and I hope after coming on here and saying it, I hope I never see it again, to be honest.
Hopefully. I mean, people... we can dream, but at the same time, we can't expect people to just suddenly become expert just because they listen to our podcast. I hopefully they'll take something out of this, and maybe even if it's just one detail, that'll be a good first step forward towards improving the quality of the show. At least from my take. This also comes to when you mention logos. This also comes with the graphics and replays. If you have this is like when there was some immature-ish stuff going on, and I believe we used to do this too. I don't know, but 100%. I've seen this somewhere, even in FAM. We used to, first of all, finish the matches. I think this was 2012. We used to finish the matches and actually add the logos, etc., like the hashtag, whatever. Then put it up on YouTube for commentary. Then we do replays later. And then when we do the replays, we, in the replay section, you still see the hashtags and logos, and you also see it outside of the replay as well. So you got 6 logos. You got 3 in the middle, and then you got the 3 on top. It's the same. We screwed up. We didn't think about this beforehand because we didn't see it coming. But now that we know, just remove it. Remove the, at least zoom in to the point where you don't see the logos in the original clip, or better yet, both. You remove the logos as well during the replays. So at least you have a clear replay, no 6 logos, no 3 logos, just a clear replay of the most important stuff, which is actually the move that's being done or the promo that's being said. That's it. I don't need 35 logos with the same sponsor. Yes, we know you're FAM. We get it. You don't need to tell us on every single side of the screen. We get it, so just go with that.
Yeah, exactly. And were you saying there about, you put it on in one thing and you put it and then add it in the next thing and it was there 6 times or whatever?
Yeah.
Watermarks are one of those things I think I would recommend to people. Add those the very end. When you've got your full show done, when the commentary is done for it, before you do that final render, don't add any watermarks during the entire process, and then right at the end, before that final render, that's when you should go in and add your watermarks. Just go through the entire show and put it wherever it needs to be obviously making sure to cut it where it doesn't need to be. That's not me saying take your big hour and a half long track, put it into Vegas, and then just put a watermark over the entire thing.
No.
You gotta make sure that it's not there on the replays, on certain promos, on if you fade to black for a commercial or whatever, it can't be there. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to watch the entire show. You just need to First of all, if you actually made the show, I think you'll have an understanding of where a replay is at. So an estimation. So it should be easier for the guy putting the show together at the end for the final render to distinguish whether or not to put to put the logos on the replay and then put it back on. It should be easy. I think honestly that's the most satisfying end game of a show where you have everything ready. It's just the logo. It's so satisfying.
Yeah.
To say, okay, I just got everything, just the logos. Let me just watch the show and then tick off and tick on the logos, whatever it's needed. Because, it's the final product. You got just one click away from rendering it. And if you're going to enjoy it, then, the people are going to enjoy it. So just do it, man. Just do it. It's not even a pain at that point because you've already been through the worst of editing all the replays, the sounds.
I think...
Just a small detail, man.
Sorry, I think we landed then. Yeah, but I think on what you were just saying there, I believe that if you can't watch your stuff while editing it, if you can't sit there and sit through an entire match you just put through and enjoy it, I don't know. It's maybe not something you want to consider putting out. Definitely something you should consider. Maybe you make CAW content and you absolutely hate watching it. Okay, maybe that's your thing. But yeah, if I watch one of my matches back and I don't enjoy it, that's got to go on the cutting room floor, I think. Or if I watch a spot back and it's just it's got to go.
Right. It's so, you know what? It's so much quicker to redo it than to actually spend days thinking about redoing it. Just do it, if that's the case, or cutting. Just do it. Like Shia LaBeouf says, do it! Just do it! So he's right on that part. Besides, everything else, he's right on that.
Just do it.
Yeah, he's right, man. He's just do it. Takes more time. It takes way more time to think about doing it than to actually do it.
Yeah.
So just do it.
How many tips have you done?
All right. I have yet to give 2 more quick tips. And these are small. Okay, so one of them is very small, which is the arena. Now, I can't stress enough how important an arena is depending on your vision. Because let's just say you want to do a small venue arena and like an ECW style. All right, you got to make sure that it has to have the most crappy-ass, like, third-rate budget look ever, if that's what you want to do it. All right, and I think the 2K19 gives you the option to do that. In fact, it gives you a lot of options. However, if you want to go and make it a big spectacle, if that's your case, you got to make sure that every right thing is available. For example, and this is a very, like, I used to obsess with this since SVR 2011, but it's true. I love the LED Trons around the arena, especially with the pay-per-view logos. And I absolutely urge people to put the lighting in the arena or around the crowd, because it will have the distinguished feeling of not just being another regular show in the same regular arena. Because if you're going to look at it from the default camera angle, it's going to look like the same show from other people's products if it has no lighting or a different logo. However, if you add lighting, different colors, and different logos, it's going to feel more distinguishable. So please go with that. I think the only way you can actually add lighting, unfortunately, in 2K19 is by having a certain stage with the lights coming through the crowd. Use that. I think it's the Ron Titantron. I'm not sure. But even if it's going to look like the same Tron, as long as it has lights on the crowd, and trust me, I haven't seen a match ever where most of the show is captured with the angle looking through the stage or looking at the stage. So it's going to look mostly at the default crowd. So make sure that that's the most distinguishable part of the show, at least from my eyes. So that is another one. The final point, if you don't mind, Cam, is yep. I think I pinpointed this before. And I think this is so important because this goes all the way back to CAW creation, and it also goes back to how you're going to implement the CAW in the story. So besides the fundamentals of the character or whatever, or the persona, the looks is also very important. So when you make the character and you gave him this big personality, whatever, if you give him the look, and you got to ask yourself, do I want to buy his or her action figure if it's real, if this character has it? If it's a yes, then you got the right persona and you got the right overall picture. If no, maybe you might want to add something to it. Because I don't like the look of like, oh, he's a wrestler that looks like a wrestler or like anybody wrestler. There's only a few people who can make that work, because they might have something else that topples over the rest and makes them more distinguishable. Man, I use the word distinguishable a lot, but I think that's what the key word here we're trying to give. Really, that's just for the entire podcast.
Distinguish yourself, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the word. So that's that's it. And the final point I want to make is you have everything settled. You got yourself the capture card, the good mic, the good characters, the good everything. You got the arena. You got everything perfectly ready. But how are you going to make the storylines? This is such a massive pet peeve, especially right here, right now in this era of wrestling, even in real life, because I'm seeing the same thing over and over again. Ever since the beginning of time, or not beginning of time, ever since the beginning of professional wrestling / sports entertainment, there's always been the same storyline purpose, which is 2 or more opposing forces fighting for the same 4 or 5 belts in the company. Now, it's going to remain like this until the end of time, for sure. There's always going to be a championship title match. Always. But how is it different? How is it going to be different from the World Championship title picture all the way to the Mid-Card Championship title picture? It can't be just 2 guys who just want the belt and just don't like each other, and that's the story. No. I can tell you all the way, like FAM did it so many times. In fact, I think the most talked about the story had no title on it. In fact, if it's people like, oh, it's the same power struggle story, it's Reddick. Like, yes, but people enjoy that shit. Now, my best example I give in real life is 2005. The best storylines I can ever remember in 2005, all the way till the end of, I think even till 2011, were storylines that had no titles. For example, Undertaker versus Randy Orton, Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio. By the way, Dominic, SummerSlam, it all comes full circle, man. I'm telling you, right? Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle, Matt Hardy versus Edge, the SmackDown versus Raw Survivor Series 2005 storyline, freaking the legendary Muhammad Hassan's reign, man. All of that, without any championships in the picture, right? And they're still the most talked about stories till this day. And you combine that with the championship belts, like, for example, the rivalries between Batista versus Triple H, JBL versus John Cena, Big Show and Kane dominating as a tag team, Booker T's, and Benoit 7 of the series title reign, Mickey James versus Trish Stratus, that was for the championship, and it's still the most talked about women's storyline till this day. Like, all of this, makes for incredible programming that doesn't even have to involve the championship most of the time. So, think of distinguishable stories. Again, the word distinguishable and epic stories that you're going to hook people into watching. So you got to open their eyes by making the characters look and sound believable. And then you can open their ears, and then you can open their interest so that you can hook them for the rest of the entire story and hook them to your product for life. That's my take on that, at least.
Story is A1. Story is more important than anything else when it comes to wrestling, and it's what not only has made wrestling different from any other sport out there, but it's made wrestling different from anything else in the entire world. Just kayfabe, taking real people and inserting them into scenarios where you're not sure if it's real or not. And that's what wrestling is all about at the end of the day. There's been, I guess, kind of a movement as of late, both within the CAW community as well as in real life wrestling, where they're trying to, I guess, kill off a lot of the stuff that makes wrestling. They're saying that storylines don't matter. Heels and faces are old tropes.
Oh no, man! That what? It's like telling me cars can be driven without tires. Like, no, you can't. That's what makes no. You can't take away the fundamentals of what makes it work. I mean, okay, we can cross the bridge. Sometimes the face, not all the time, but you gotta have at least most of your cards has to have a heel versus baby face, because otherwise it's just going to be two guys that you can't understand why they hate each other so much. For no, you can't make the story. In every movie, there's a protagonist and antagonist. Whether he's a good guy, like it's always been that way since the beginning of entertainment. And it's the same thing for wrestling. You cannot change that. Babyface and heel should be the same. Now, however, I'm not saying that there can't be a storyline where a good guy can face another good guy or a bad guy can face another bad, because that happened. In fact, that's one of the best stories, I think. So the last greatest story I ever seen was Punk versus Cena, and Cena versus Rock, Triple H, Undertaker streak, where it all had like babyface versus babyfaces,
Yeah.
and those are rare though. Those are rare because these characters they have a common goal, and these guys are standing in the way of each other, and that's great storytelling. But to create, when you have two new guys who are not distinguishable because they haven't been given the chance yet, and they're both babyface or they're both heels and they're both fighting each other, there is no story behind it. There is no reason for me to cheer for this guy or boo this guy, and there is no cheers or boos. There is no crowd reaction, and there's no crowd reaction. There is no program. If there's no program, there is no wrestling.
Yes.
It's a common equation.
And I love the point you made there about sort of these bigger matches, like the Triple H's versus Undertakers, the John Cena's versus the Rocks. A lot of people like to point to those matches and say, look, this is a good example of no faces and no heels. Wrong. Those are two superheroes. That's the level of hero that they've sort of approached onto.
Exactly.
They've reached those upper echelons, and you just can't be... People think that you could just come in and you could just start doing that and people are going to care about it. No. They reverted into these sort of personas that are more, I guess, themselves, in the likes of sort of the John Cena's, the Triple H's. They don't have these sort of over-the-top gimmicks like Thugonomics and Paul Levesque like they used to have. But through the years of building up their career and through doing many other things and doing many storylines, they've reached these superhuman echelons, and then they can go out and they can do these sort of face versus face stories, if that's how you want to look at it. But that's not people can't look at that and be, see, this is a good example of no face and no heels going up against each other, because the only reason that those characters are in the position that they could do that is because of all of the backstory that they put in over the years.
Yeah. Essentially, when you mentioned John Cena didn't start being Thugonomics. It's because John Cena was bigger than Thugonomics at that point. So he doesn't need that stuff, especially when he was feuding against people like Edge, for example. You're telling me that if Edge was a face when they cashed it on Cena, then he would have gotten that massive recognition and push? No, he was the most disgusting, devious heel in like that year, and it was like the first week of January, and for that entire year, all the way until I guess 2007, when he did the same thing to the Undertaker. He was still like the most captivating, the most hated, the most washed heel in that era. So please, for the love of God, even Jim Cornette, go to old Jimmy Cornette, will tell you, for the love of God, heel versus baby faces are still the most precedented, basic step when it comes to making a program. And I'm sorry if I sound like an old man. I'm really getting old, but it's just, this is something this is the hill. Not only will I die on, but I will bury myself in, and I will allow people to piss on my grave on. I don't care. Just, it has to remain. It has to remain. I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry. I'm not that progressive on that part yet.
It's one of the guys who gets a lot of slack for it nowadays is Cody Rhodes, talking about sort of heel and face tropes being things of the past and whatnot. But if you take a look at Cody Rhodes' career, I think unanimously a lot of people agree that his best work is when he was playing a heel, when he was dashing Cody Rhodes, when he was Stardust, when he was doing all of the stuff that he was doing during his run in WWE. It was just absolutely phenomenal, top-tier stuff. And yeah, I get he's mad. I get that stuff probably should have been up in that main event level. But now when he's doing nothing, when he's just Cody, when he's just the TNT champion, like, there's nothing really to this guy, you know. He just wants to be a guy who competes in wrestling, and it's like, man, it annoys me so much because you in particular have so much to offer because I've seen it, and you don't want to give it to us no more. You just want to be Cody. Okay, be Cody then. Be Cody on your own.
All right, you know what? If you were just like the name is whatever, but if it's just Cody, I mean, I have a kid in my class that's named Cody. Like, are you telling me that this guy can be you in 25 years and still have the same persona? Like, you need the heel stuff. I remember, like you mentioned, all this stuff beforehand, Cam, especially the dashing and the on-dashing Cody Rhodes. Even if it lost it, it's still memorable to me and a lot of my friends who watched it. I cannot remember anything that Cody Rhodes did at AEW so far because it's not different from anything he has done since last year. He's still the same Cody, but at the same time, the same Cody is not anything. He's just a guy. He's just a wrestler who is just wrestling. Well, he wrestled his brother. Okay. He knows how to cut passionate promos. Great. I don't know what he did afterwards. He's the TNT champion, which, by the way, that TNT championship has had more reboots than the freaking Spider-Man franchise. So good luck with that. He even had to have Mike Tyson presented to him. That's how, like, it's desperation from what I'm saying. Like, we got to make it relevant. How? You get Mike Tyson. Okay. But after that, then what? What are you going to do, Cody? Like, if there's no babyface or heels. That's why I don't think AEW has the right mindset yet when it comes to programming / superstars. It's good content to watch, but it's not like the most captivating thing out there, beyond a shadow of a doubt. I still, till this day, say the last good, captivating story from any programming was, I think, till the end of, I think the last one was the Bryan one. Honestly, WrestleMania 30. It's like it's been a while. There have been some good ones here and there, like decent ones, like, say, Brock Lesnar facing Roman Reigns for Seth Rollins to cash in. But WrestleMania 32, 33, 34, 35, even 36, I'm like, you only remember that the world title was on the line, and that's it. It's really like, there's no babyface, there's no heels that much anymore. I know they're trying a bit in WWE, but AEW especially is I don't think it's the right mindset. Again, sorry to drag it along, folks, but when you mention there's no heels or baby faces, I'm gonna get triggered. I am gonna get triggered, and I'm gonna pick out my shield and my freaking spear and stab you to death, and I will fight you till the death. You can't take that away from me.
Passion.
Oh yeah. Right.
So coming up on the hour mark here, I got one more tip to get to. One final tip for the members of the CAW community. And for me, that is be humble, be respectful, and understand that just like in any industry, you're going to have to pay some dues here in one way or another before you can reach those pinnacles. And that basically speaks for itself. There's a lot of people who come in here and within weeks are already talking about how they're the hard shit and the best thing ever, and then those types of people usually then go on to have years and years of drama of them trying to leave and come back under different identities because they fucked up the first one and people backing them down. It's a whole mess, and then they finally manage to get the ball rolling after, I don't know, wasting years and years. Just like I said, be humble, be respectful, come in, open arms, open brains, just be a sponge, absorb what people have to tell you. I'm taking these tips that me and Rom shared with you tonight. If anybody else is sort of giving out information, be there to take it in. Follow the people who are relevant to what you're into on Twitter so that you can take in their perspectives and everything, Just be a sponge, be humble, don't expect to be the world champion overnight. And pay your dues, put in that time, and one day you will get there. You will. I swear to God, it happens. I did it. Did you think me, of all people, thought that I'd be like in that position of being where I was in FAM and winning the FAM title and all that stuff? Absolutely not. And then it happened, So stick with it.
That is exactly what Cameron's talking about, which makes sense. We have to be humble and don't be a mark for yourself. And you also have to give a reason why people should trust you. And what I mean by that is don't expect, hey, I'm going to make a character, book me, and let me just do the lines and give me the world title. Like, me and Cam have we used to decide that people who should give be given the championship or given the chance are people who work. People, it doesn't. You don't even have to have Vegas or editing. Even if you just represent, even if you just go on Twitter and retweet, even if you just go on the server and make things happy for the members. If you're just guys and someone who helps the overall show and the overall product, we're gonna give you this chance. Anybody, even outside of wrestling or whatever, if you show that same attitude and that same passion, you're gonna be given the chance. But if you're just gonna say, "Hey, book me as a world champion," or just book me at all for that matter, just because I have a CAW, and I think I'm hot shit, you're not gonna get far. If you're gonna be a mark for yourself, you're gonna have a very bad first impression, and most likely we're just going to ignore you. Not just we, but a lot of people in general. So, just like Cam said, come in with the open mindset, absorb what people have to tell you, because trust me, people want to give you advice because they want to see it, and if they want to see it, maybe you should do it. Yeah, because at the end of the day, you're going to create something that people want to see. So you have to come in with an open mind, maybe change some things here and there. Just absorb, learn, be humble, be up and open, be more productive or be more helpful, just whatever, just be a team player. That's all there is to it.
Exactly. Be a team player, be humble, and yeah, you'll get along with everybody. And you'll get to the places that you want to get to easier. If you're gonna be a hard nut about it, if you want to kick everybody's ass, both in fights on Twitter and in
Twitter. Oh God, one thing I will say: if you got a problem with somebody, Twitter is the worst thing to talk about it about. All right, have common sense and talk to this person privately, or whatever. Don't. That's what happens to wrestlers, even in WWE, who air their grievances on Twitter. They're like, "Oh, you want to say that? Well, okay, here goes your push." Whoop, and you know what? They deserve it. I 100% agree. They would deserve that. Like, you gotta talk to these people privately, and that's how they used to settle the differences and make good, rational, moral, and business decisions. Moving forward, not just like, "Hey, I hate my job on Twitter." Like, "Oh, you hate your job? Well, you don't have a job anymore. How's that?" There you go.
Yeah, no, exactly. Full on. Got to be humble. It's the core message. So I feel like the main messages of this podcast were be humble and be distinguished.
There you go. That D word right there. There you go.
Big D from Bust and Bash.
Yeah. So this will be episode 1 of Bust and Bash or episode 2? I'm not sure.
Yeah, episode 1 of Bust and Bash, our second podcast, but the first official episode. We'll put a stamp in it. Nice new look, nice new logo, nice new everything. First episode of Bust and Bash in the
absolutely. Books. There you go, and yeah, that makes it officially. That's the first episode. It's hopefully I think next time we'll be talking about the wonderful venture of not only SummerSlam. But then afterwards, we were going to talk about, like, how the heck are they going to do a pay-per-view 1 week after that? That's going to be something.
Yeah, exactly. So quite a bit coming up. We've got, as we're recording this, coming up on the weekend now, we got NXT 30, NXT TakeOver 30, we got SummerSlam, and then the week after that, they're doing another pay-per-view, WWE Payback. And it's come out today that this is all related to something called WWE... Super
Thunderdome, I think.
The Thunderdome, that's it. Thunderdome. WWE Thunderdome. And this is some sort of thing where they're going into some sort of arena and they're gonna deck it out with just all kinds of crazy stuff. You guys can check out the news. I'm sure you've already heard of it by the time you're listening to this. But yeah, Thunderdome is coming. So this seems to be the reason that there's 2 pay-per-views back to back, because they want to get a lot of content done while they're here. So by the time we come to you guys with the next podcast, we'll probably be talking about a couple of the things that went on here. So I guess we'll find out what that is all about real soon.
Oh yeah, and it's probably going to be a horror show part 2 of the podcast. I think with the whole what I'm hearing from what I'm seeing, it's gonna be an interesting night, especially with the from what I'm seeing. Like, they're gonna have like a 360 view. To be like, what?
Drone
like,
cameras and
yeah, right.
Sounds crazy.
I know. Definitely worth $10 though. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, so we'll see what that's all about the next time we come to you guys. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this one. I'm gonna flash all of our stuff to you guys now. Let me grab that. So yeah, if you wanna go ahead and check out FAM on YouTube, youtube.com/XFAMXHD. My channel, of course, is youtube.com/BrokenFunBash. You can also check out FAM on Twitter at the same address, XFAMXHD. You can check out the Gender Movement Twitter as well at Broken Fun Jam. Rom's Twitter, of course, at Rom Buster. And myself at Broken Fun Bash. So yeah, give us a follow, check us out on there, and be sure to send us feedback and stuff as well. We want to hear your guys' thoughts about what you want to hear us talk about on future episodes. We know that you wanted us to talk about CAW, so let us know a little bit more specifically what you would like to hear us. We tried to give you some just sort of general CAW advice with this one. If you want to see an episode where we go more in depth on editing, or go more in depth on CAW creation, or more in depth on storyline writing, or anything like that, let us know in the Twitch chat or the comments on the YouTube video or over on Twitter, and we'll be sure to get to that.
Oh yeah, and people are gonna hear me scream and moan a bit more about this, and that's what I think they want.
Anything else you want to plug now before we wrap up?
Yeah, well, essentially, we are going to be releasing the season premiere, the big 3-hour show, I think in about 3 weeks in FAM. So sorry for the long wait, but because we're doing that, plus we're also working on a 4-hour pay-per-view. So it's going to be a big time. We have like 7 hours of shtick coming very soon. So 3-hour season premiere, and then 4 to 5-hour pay-per-view, I think a few weeks afterwards. So yeah, we're going to be releasing a bunch load of stuff. And I think Jam is about to be releasing something particularly pretty sweet very soon, from what I'm hearing, at least. A lot of people have been telling me.
Yeah, we just you just got done wrapped with your Gatekeeper and Fate of the Gates videos. They both came out back to back each week, so you guys can check them out now on the FAM channel. Over in the Jam universe, we just got wrapped up with episode 2 of Redemption. That's available on the channel now if you guys want to check it out. And we've also got our pay-per-view coming up soon, JAM Unleashed, as you can see here on the Twitter. We got a couple of more episodes of Redemption coming out before we get to this big pay-per-view, but we got lots of exciting stuff planned for it that I'm excited to share with you guys.
Yeah, and 2K, please keep the servers up for a little bit more.
Yes, please. Please, 2K gods, answer our prayers. Keep them up forever. Give us all the 2K20 stuff. One can dream.
Please. Please. Pretty please.
Alright, guys, this has been Cameron Bash and Rom Buster with the Buster Bash podcast. Thank you very much for joining us for the debut episode, and we'll see you guys very soon for another one.
Alright, guys. Peace.
Take care. Peace.